Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, I want to configure Terraform in Azure Cloud Shell, and we're going to use the bash. Now, Terraform is one of the tools that you can use for infrastructure as a cloud, and it's a very popular tool in the world today. And one of the most powerful features of Terraform, it's a multi-cloud, meaning once you learn the capabilities of Terraform, the syntax, you can use your knowledge with other cloud providers. Does it mean that you can use the exact same code? No, you won't. But once you understand how the providers and resources, different blocks, different modules work, it's going to give you a lot of power to automate code in multiple different type of cloud environment. Now, in this one, as I said, we're going to use the Cloud Shell. Now, what is Cloud Shell? Now, Cloud Shell is really is this right there at the very top. Okay, if you click on the Cloud Shell, Azure is giving you a shell. Okay, and it has either the PowerShell, which is by default that shows up in a dark blue screen, or you have the Bash option. So let the PowerShell open. So the PowerShell is now on, and notice that the PowerShell actually also supports the AZ command these days. Okay, so if you want to use the bash, you can possibly run most of the commands even from here. Like if I just type AZ, you will see that it's now supports the AZ commands from here as well. But we're just gonna go to the bash. Okay, that's where we're gonna go, and we're gonna say yeah, confirm, go to the bash. Now the bash will have a darker black background. If you're coming from a Linux background, it will be much more familiar to you. Okay, so again, as I said, in this environment we are going to configure the Terraform. Now Terraform, it is the tool that we'll be using for our Azure environment today. And Terraform uses something called the HCL syntax, but nobody really cares about that name. HCL is the HashiCorp language. Everybody knows it as a Terraform. Okay, so let's see what we need to do. So once we are in the Terraform, okay, let's see if the Terraform is installed by default. So I only type Terra, and then I'm gonna type the tab, and look at that. So this, if you're coming from again the Linux background, you know that tab completion is a wonderful feature of bash, and I have the Terraform installed. So I can just click on enter here. Since I haven't provided anything, it's at least gonna give me some stuff, right? What kind of options I can provide with Terraform? It's giving me just that. So let me just make it a little bit bigger. uh, so one thing where we want to start, let's do a clear, and let's say Terraform, and let's look at the version. Okay, and it's telling you that the Terraform version 1.1.5 is now currently installed. Okay, uh, so do you want to use this version now? uh, it depends on if this is the latest version. If it's not the latest version, we can use something else. Now let's verify what is the Terraform's version that we have. So if we go to the URL http www.terraform.io/downloads. Okay, so let's go there. Now let's look for the Linux, and it says Terraform 1.1.5. So what do we have here? 1.1.5. So really we have the latest version. So we don't need to upgrade our Terraform version in this particular environment right at the moment. All right, let's keep track of what we have done. So we went to, so log in to portal.azure.com, and then what we have done, open Cloud Shell. Okay, and then select bash. Okay, fourth, we checked Terraform. We just ran Terraform and then version. Okay, and five, if the version is not the latest, you can upgrade. Okay, so since we have the latest version, we are not going to do the upgrade. So you can just go to the website and there should be links for Azure how to download. Like over here, you go down to whichever version you are using and run these commands. Okay, crawl command, then you add the repository and then you run this. Okay, and it will install the latest version of the Terraform. So I'm going to skip this. I'm just going to give this as a reference. Okay, so I'm just going to put that with this maybe. All right, so I'm gonna add this, but really for our installation, we didn't have to do that. Okay, so let's come back to the next one, what we need to do. So once you have verified uh, that you are there, especially if you have a multi subscription situation, okay, you want to make sure that you are logged into the right subscription. If you have multiple subscriptions and like you are a part of a AD where you have hundreds of subscriptions, okay, and you are owner or something like that. So over here what you can do, az, okay, uh, another thing, well, let's start with the az account. Okay, let's start with az account show. Okay, so now since I this command that I did, it is now telling me this account or this session, really the bash session that I have started, it is attached to a particular session, and here is the name of the a subscription that I'm connected to, tenant ID and subscription ID, all of that is part is over here. Now, if you have, as I said, multiple different subscription, what happens once you log in, whichever subscription is alphabetically at the very top, as you automatically logs into that particular subscription. So if you have multiple subscription, please make sure to run az account set subscription command. Okay, and then provide your subscription and it will set the subscription for you, the right subscription. Another thing that we didn't have to do is the AZ login. Since we are already logged into the portal and we are using this AZ commands within the CLI, we didn't have to log in. But if you have the AZ CLI installed in your own machine, you would have to do that AZ login from your machine. And we'll do that in another video. So right now you have run the AZ account show. Let me copy that and put it in here. Uh, Set the account. I'm gonna put a note, and so you're really in this step as the account showing you're verifying that you have the right account. Now the next thing that we're gonna do, that quickly I want to explain that if you are using Azure PowerShell, Terraform does not support authentication to Azure using the PowerShell. So you are kind of stuck using the Azure CLI. So you can do other stuff with Azure PowerShell, but for the authentication purposes, you have to use the uh, Terraform, I mean the CLI. Okay, Azure CLI. Your PowerShell is not gonna help. Okay, so quickly recap what we have done. So we want to use the Terraform, and we are using the Azure Cloud Shell. We verify the Terraform if it's installed already. So we just ran Terraform version, and we verified we have the Terraform available. And since we are already authenticated to the portal and we are using the Cloud Shell, we didn't have to authenticate again, but we wanted to make sure we are in the right subscription. So we ran az account show, and this is the subscription that is currently attached to the session is showing up. If you have multiple subscription, you can quickly run a command like this, okay, which is az account list and the query, then you have the username, and if you look at it, the name is, it gives you your live.com and then your email address if you're using a Microsoft email address. So you provide that, and then if you hit enter, it should give you the your subscription name, subscription ID, and is it the default, and it's saying true. Okay, so make sure that you are in the right subscription before you start doing anything. Okay, and that's about it. So you are now, you got a Terraform file, and usually the code is always available in this cloud shell. So now you have a Terraform code that you can start writing. Simply what you can do, create a file, say, just say control S, and just call it maybe main.tf. That is the way that it will know that it's a Terraform file, main.tf. And then you start writing, okay, your code, provider, waiver, whatever you want to do. So you start writing your code. Okay, then you do the same thing: Terraform plan, Terraform apply, Terraform validate, Terraform init. All of that is gonna come. All right, so really what I wanted to show you is one way to get started with Terraform and start writing code and authenticate to the right account. So you are there. So all of that step, okay, let's put it down over here. So let's put it A, using Cloud Shell, authenticate, authenticate. Okay, but this is probably not everyday use case, right? You don't want to do that every day. So what other way can you authenticate Terraform to your Azure and do your work? So the next common way, where you have other automated tools that you're using to deploy different Azure services or resources to Azure. Okay, you want to create a service principal, okay, and then assign the right permissions, okay, and you test the service principal. Okay, so now let's see how to do that next. Okay, and I'm going to give you all these commands that I'm doing here. So the next way is B. Okay, so B, let's say authenticate Terraform to Azure using service principle. Okay, that is what we're going to do next. Now, as I said, this is going to be your most important way of running your Terraform script. So notice this command. So I'm going to paste a command over right here, which we are going to use. So this is another Azure CLI command: az ad for Active Directory and asp for service principal, create for rbac. So create this for the rbac role, and we're going to say create a new say sp Terraform. That is going to be the name of my service principal that we're going to create, and we are going to create with the role contributor. Let me see if we can run this command. Let's copy that. So I'm still in the cloud shell. Paste that command and hit enter, and see what is going on. So if it's like a little uh, yellow, so this is a warning. So you don't have to worry about too much. Read it, but you don't have to worry about it. And if it's red, then you know that something went wrong. So what it's telling you, so these are very, very secret information. You do not want to give this out to anyone. So now you ask me, hey, you are recording this video and you're giving out this to everyone. The reason I'm doing it, because as soon as I'm done with the video, I'm gonna go and change that password. Okay, so for now I'm gonna copy this one, and I have run this command. So I'm gonna put it right there. So this is what we're gonna use. So the display name is spterraform. I have the password. This is my the tenant ID, and this registers an application. So this is our app ID. So if you want to know what happened, you can always go to the Active Directory, and once you go to the Active Directory, go down to the app registration, and what I expect is something like that to show up. And under all application, you see this sp terraform that showed up. Okay, this is the one where I have all the password and everything. And over here, okay, if you want to change the password and secret and all type of stuff, you can configure it from here. Okay, not this one, and certificate and secrets. and this is the secret ID. So if I click on this one, okay, I'll find the password for this one, and all I need to do is delete this one as soon as I'm done with the video. So anyway, so you can come back over here and make sure that your service principal got created properly. Okay, so now let's stick to our video and see what is the next thing. Now you have the service principal. How can you use this and tell Terraform, hey, instead of using the easy login and your own ID for authentication, how can you use this with the Terraform and for authentication? Let's look at that. Well, as a matter of fact, before I move, I wanted to show you a command that will reset the password real quick from the command line itself. And the command is azadsp credential reset, and then you're providing the name and then the application ID. Okay, so that is the command. So what it did, so my password used to be this, and now you see it has now become this. So what I'm going to copy this one as the most recent, but what for as soon as I'm done with the video, I'm going to change this one. So please don't try to use this one. So I'm going to copy this, excuse me, and put a note here to reset. This is the command that you need to use. Okay, there we go. So we have that. So let's see what we do next. All right, now once you have done that, okay, so Terraform somehow needs to get to these properties. Okay, so you can put all of that inside the Terraform file, okay, or you can keep those as part of environment variable. Okay, so let's see if we have a, this is Linux, so let's see if we have a .bashrc file available to us. So let me try to do go use vi to go to, well, actually not vi, I have code available here, which is good. So let's try to do this and dot, let's see if I have the bashrc file in there. It's there. Okay, so let me copy this command, also put it here. So we're gonna go to, or just say open this file, okay, and hit enter. So now this is the file that we have opened up. So this is the bashrc file that we have opened up with the code, right? So in this one, what we want to do at the very bottom of this file, we're just gonna add this environmental variable, and because bashrc is going to be sourced every single time we open a new shell, this is a great place to put them. And the thing that you're going to put it is, are these, okay, and you're going to add the export, so the variables that you are creating is available throughout your other everywhere, any command line it will be available. So let me put that back in here as well and say edit these variables and then put it here. So for me, if you look at it, your app ID, okay, so let's see, client secret is this, we know that. So let's copy that for now and change that. All right, I kind of fill this out. So this from here, the command output that we got from the azadsp credential command, you will get all three of them: your tenant ID, client ID, and the client secret. Your client ID is really the app ID. Okay, this is your client ID. Your tenant ID is good, so you can look for the tenant. Your client secret is really the password. So the only thing that you don't have in this one is a subscription ID. So you can go back to some previous command that we ran, like az account show, and you can get the ID from there, or you can go uh, to your to your portal and just go to subscription and pick up the subscription ID from there as well. So if you see what we have done, I have made sure that these uh, four environmental variables, they are correct, okay, as per my subscription. So I'm going to copy this one. Now go back to the code. What is the, what happened to my code? Let's go back. Let me redo this code, bring up my code window. Here, code is hidden. Okay, so at the bottom now, I'm just gonna add this. So this one is the bash.rc file that I'm editing. And now I have just saved the bash.rc file. Now, just because you have saved, it doesn't mean anything though, because you still need to source. Now, I would like you guys to do some review on sourcing, what that means in Linux. But what I'll do here, we are gonna source the file, okay? And source the file, really what it means, you just loading the file. So I'm gonna dot slash and then bashrc. So I'm just rereading the file. So that's about it. So what it did, it should have now read the file again, and now all the variables that we have configured here now available in this mesh shell session. So let's just put that in our little code that we are developing right there. So from here, what I'll do, before I post this, I'll probably remove all of that secrets and stuff with something else. So just if you are looking at a video, just make sure that I'll leave these as blank, or just put 888 or xx or something like that. So this is sourcing. So that's what you have done. Now, since all of them variable are starting with arm, so if you run a command something like this, print env, so that is going to print all the environment variable, and you are greping only from all the variables that starts with arm. Let's see if you get anything, and look at that. So in my environment variable, I have access to all of them. So I'm going to give you this one as well. And so 5 verify variables by running this. Okay, so now we have everything that we need, and we have configured our environment. uh, so from that environment, our Terraform is going to get the authentication, username, password, your access to the tenant, access to subscription, all of that is going to get from the environment. So only thing that you have to remember, so from you're writing a Terraform script and you need to access the ARM client secret. Okay, you want to access that value. So the way that you will call that, you will call that as dollar, then you will say env, then dot, and then the name of the variable. Okay, and you close that with a curly brace. Okay, if you put that, this is gonna bring the value of that variable for you. Okay, all right, with that, let's let's do some quick testing. So in right now our environment got all the credential. So let's maybe go back to the main.tf file, okay, that we have created. So in here, let's work on this just a little. So first of all, let's get Terraform block. Okay, so this block is standard. Okay, so we're gonna say, okay, Terraform version and record provider. We're gonna use the Azure RM, and we're gonna use the Hashiv Corp Azure RM version greater than 2. And then what we are gonna do here, we are use the Azure RM provider. So I'm gonna replace this and just do this provider Azure RM, and you need these features with the empty block. Okay, that is required these days. Next, what we'll do, we're gonna do resource. Okay, and we're gonna say Azure RM resource group. Okay, and I'm gonna say RG. Okay, I'm just say example RG. Okay, that is gonna be the name of a resource group. And in here, name, I'm gonna provide the same name. Okay, so example RG, and let's do a location, which is a record parameter. Location, we're gonna call it, say, is US. Okay, and that's about it. Now with that, okay, I don't need to do too much. So that's pretty good. Let's see, Control S. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I am let's create output.tf. Okay, so we'll do code output.tf. Okay, in that file, let's just do this. So let's just say output with the resource group name, and the resource group name, the value you store it as URM resource group name, and then you need the rg dot name. Now this rg is the resource group name that we have created, so this is going to be example dash rg dot name. Okay, let's save this one. Let's go back to the main one more time. Make sure we still remember the resource group name. So this is the resource group name. So resource group example underscore rg. Okay, so let's just go back to output example underscore rg dot name. Okay, I think that should be enough to do a quick test. Now to initialize Terraform, the command that you run, do a clear is Terraform init. Okay, so now it's initializing the backend, initializing the provider, and it's checking for, okay, so it says everything is good. A command that I like to run all the time is Terraform validate. So that usually validates, make sure that everything is good, and right now it's saying that here is some problem. So here is the file is probably not saved, so go back in here, output dot file, and save this one, because the error that I saw, it was complaining reference to undeclared resource value on line to SURM resource group example underscore RG name. A managed example has not been declared in the root module. That's not good. Let me check real quick. All right, coming back to the here, I see I have a spell mistake here, so it should be resource group. So let's fix that, and let's do the validate command one more time. Let's see if that fixes the problem. And now it says all the configuration is valid, so very good. So the next thing that you want to do, let's do the Terraform plan, and let's save the output file of this plan to main.tf plan file. Okay, you can name it anything you like. So now it's gonna go and look at that and give you the plan, what it's gonna do if you actually try to apply this Terraform. Okay, so it's gonna say, it's gonna change, and it's gonna create a resource group that's name is example.rg, and the plus sign denotes that. So finally what we can do, we can just run the plan. So Terraform apply, and you can specify the main.tf plan file with that, because you have already run the plan, so the command will not do the plan again, it will just use the file to apply the changes. Now let's see if that is possible. So let's see if this is successful, then you know the Terraform knows how to get to your environment variable and get the credentials and be able to deploy this, and everything worked properly, right? So now if everything happened properly, we should be able to go to our Azure, okay, and go to the resource groups, and we should see a new resource group that should show up, that should say example.rg. But do you see that? No, it's not there. What's happening? Now it takes just few seconds for this to show up. Okay, so just refresh. There is your resource group. Okay, so let's come back to our notes. So in the first one, we used the Azure Cloud Shell. In the next one, in this version of it, we used the Azure service principal to do the authentication, but we have updated our environmental variable. So the another way to do that is put all of this environment variable within your Terraform. So let's learn that next, how to do that. Okay, as I said, the third option would be to save your Azure credentials within a Terraform config file. So what you really need to do, okay, you need to go to the Azure RM block where we had the features block already. I need to add this stuff in there. Okay, so if I go back to our main.tf, okay, so we already have this block where is the features block, right? So what you can do, you can quickly get the information that we have configured right there. Okay, so we need to configure that and we need to update uh, in there. Let's see, and we will do that. Let's first copy this thing and then update it over there. Let's come back over here. So in this one we're gonna say this, and instead of the environmental variables, so you can also do the print env and grep arm star. So from here you can also copy. Okay, so say client id. Let's start copying here. So client id is, let's put it there, and then the next one is the arm tenant id, so let's copy this one as well, and the tenant id is this. Okay, the next one is the client secret. Let's copy that one. So client secret is right there, and the last one is a subscription id from here, and that goes right there. Now once I do that, if I save this one, okay, so now these variables are not needed because you are already providing all that as part of the main.tf. As a matter of fact, you can also create like a secret.tf, and you can also put this information in there, but not this is useful when you're doing a testing, but it's never a good idea to keep uh, your secret in a text file. Okay, never do that. Okay, only for testing you can, but do not keep your username and password in a clear text file that other people, somebody even by mistake may be able to review it. They can do severe amount of damage. Okay, so with that, just let's see that if we can run this file one more time. So let's go back to actually the main.tf file, and in here what we can do, we can maybe even add another, sorry, another, say add another resource group and change that resource group name. We'll just add another resource group because we don't want to change the output file. So here I'm going to call it example rg2, and name I'm going to call it example rg2. Say this one I want to deploy on east-west2. So what I'm going to do again, I'm going to run Terraform uh, plan again. I always like to do that, and again it's saying, hey, you're having some problem. So let's see what is the problem. So it's saying prob this whole bunch of problem looks like. So let's see over here, missing new line after the argument on 15. So let's go back to line 15. So here I'm missing a quotation, so let's just do that, and let's do that plan command one more time, and it's running. Okay, so it's gonna add one and no change, it's gonna add the new resource group. So let's just do apply, and we'll see what happens. Okay, and in this case it's coming directly from the apply, so we have to say yes. This time we didn't save the output file from the plan. We're just using the plan for apply to run a plan and then apply. So it said yeah, everything is good. So let's go back to our portal and make sure that we get a new resource group. So refresh this couple times. If everything goes well, we should see a new resource group that should show up by the name of what? By the name of example RG2. It's still not there. So just give it a second and there we go. Okay. So what we have done, okay, we have shown you three different ways to configure authentication with Terraform. The first one, if you're the owner or something, you just do AZ login, okay, and then if you are using the Cloud Shell, you don't even have to do AZ login. You just go log in, open your Cloud Shell, start working with your PowerShell, and it is going to use your user ID and password to do the deployment. So if you what kind of permission you have, based on that, you will be able to do all kinds of stuff. The second one, which is the preferred one, is creating these four environment variables, okay, and keep your username password in there, okay, so it's not leaked and not exposed to anybody. The third one, you can add those four parameters in your provider block, but this is not recommended. You can use that only for testing, since this is a clear text and it has potential that Terraform might even save the state of this file, or you're using a version control system that is saving your password. This is not recommended at all. So there we go. So have fun and uh, see what you can do with it. Now in these two, you do need to create a service principal, and for that, here is the command that we have run. Okay, so this is a little bit long video. I don't know how useful that is. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments, please leave it for me in the comment section below. Thank you.